So before we start talking about Chuck and Joel's company, Mother Nature Network, and how they reach consumers on messages of sustainability, I just wanted to ask Chuck a question that I'm sure is on the mind of all of you in the audience. How much longer can the Stones keep touring?
This is the question, isn't it? 12th of never, I guess. I like what Keith Richards says, and he states it very eloquently. We're in uncharted waters. You know, we don't know. I mean, the band has lasted 50 years, over 50, 53 years now to be exact. And you look at artists like Duke Ellington and Count Basie and, you know, some of the blues guys, Muddy Waters, and we just lost B.B. King, but they did it literally till the day they couldn't do it anymore, you know. So I'm not sure that'll be the case with the Stones, but we're not done yet.
So the answer is forever.
Yeah, why not?
Great. So, Chuck, tell me how you made this journey from music into sustainable forestry, and then joining up with Joel, who's had a long and illustrious career in advertising. He started a couple of advertising firms in Atlanta and sold his last one to WPP. How did you go from, you know, playing awesome keyboards to running what is now the largest sustainability website for consumers in the world?
It's a long story, but I'll try to condense it. I like to say that it's all my wife's fault because my wife, Rose Lane, by the way, we've been married 42 years. We just celebrated 42 years. On tour with the Stones, thank you. Her family has been connected to the land literally for generations as good stewards of the land, as farmers tending cattle and forest land and whatnot. So fast forward to 1981, she inherited some land from her grandmother, and it became our responsibility to carry on this heritage of stewardship. And that led me on the journey of forestry, but further than that, to the journey of environmentalism. And then I met Joel, my partner and friend, you know, several years. Well, how long have we been together now? 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And we became partners. He had this vision for the Mother Nature Network, and I was happy to join in it.
Joel, what was the vision for the Mother Nature Network?
Well, as you mentioned, I had sold the business to WPP, but I had stayed on, and more of WPP's clients started spending money on environmental marketing messages, and I didn't know as much about it as I should, and I would ask why, and they said because it had become a mass movement as opposed to just scientists and activists and experts. And where do you go when you're looking for information? I'd go to the internet, and when I got there, I realized that even though the face and of the consumer may have changed beyond scientists and experts, the resources on the internet didn't evolve in the same way. It was still very academic. It was all over my head. Mm-hmm. And much of it was political. And I thought maybe if that was the case with me, there must be tens of millions of other people like me that were going to the internet where it was over their head. And so the vision was to start a site that was for mainstream consumer, easy to understand, engaging, and not political.
And what were some of the topics early on that you covered? And what resonates?
Typical green topics to start with. I mean, recycling, energy, consumption, those sorts of things. And it's certainly broadened beyond that now.
Now, one of the interesting things is that you're telling me that the way to reach consumers on sustainability has shifted somewhat. You have to make a somewhat broader message, more of a healthy lifestyle message. Could you explain a bit what you mean by that?
Well, I just think that the definition of sustainability has broadened. It's really not our doing. I compare it to baby boomers. I mean, you know, when the expression baby boomers first came about, it was intended to mean people born during a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. But today it's really expanded to mean a lifestyle and many characteristics of a generation. I think that's what's happened with sustainability. It started off as just recycling, energy, you know, that kind of thing. And it's really expanded today to be a lifestyle as opposed to just a narrow topic. It encompasses healthy eating and community responsibility and things of that sort.
And even Chuck, it even encompasses safe driving, right? It's one of the messages that resonates. I mean, you've attracted 10 million unique visitors a month to your site, and I mean, do you have a film clip to show us that illustrates this, right?
Well, yes. Responsibility is a big part of the film clip you're going to see is for road rage, which is not a green issue anymore. Green. By the way, I think the point about sustainability, the fact that you guys changed the name from Brainstorm Green to what it is today is also an example of this. But we cover a lot of things now. You know, we cover healthy eating, we cover community involvement, we cover safety. This clip is one example of, you know, the big thing in content is list. Even as irritating as it is, it's still the most successful thing. Any list, 10 ways to do this, 5 ways to do that. This is one of the things we did, 5 reasons not to avoid road rage. And I got one of my neighbors is Evander Holyfield, who's, for those of you who don't follow boxing, 4-time world heavyweight champion. So I got him to participate in this first one.
Can you roll the clip, please?
Let's show it.
You cut me off, you son of a b****. Get the hell out that car. Get the hell out right now. I'm gonna tear you a new. Come on, get out. I'm gonna beat
That got 7 million hits online.
7 million hits and done with my phone, my car at my house.
So, what kinds of messages are resonating with today's consumers out there? I mean, I've seen a lot of research that says you can't really use the term climate change or global warming with you know, a mass market approach. It sort of turns people off. Is it this healthy living, holistic living, and is it a millennial thing, or is it broader than that?
It's much broader. I mean, it is seniors, it is elementary school kids, it's and everything in between. And I don't think it's, you know, one of the issues is topics, you say, but when you ask about language, it's not just that climate change might turn somebody off or on. The biggest mistake, I think, is that people are still trying to explain things in very complicated academic terms, you know? Mm-hmm. And if you listen to most of the discussions here, the people in the audience understand that because they're here. But the average consumer doesn't understand any of those terms, no matter how simple it may be to us. And so the need to really translate the language that is used in business to a lower level, not lower, maybe different, is just essential.
Yeah. I'm going to ask one more question, but be thinking of your questions in the meantime for the panel. We only have a few minutes left here. Chuck, do the Rolling Stones ever think about sending environmental messages or their concerts, or is that not top of mind for Mick?
They're not so much known as artists like Bonnie Raitt, perhaps, or Jackson Browne, Jack Johnson, those that are a little bit more forward about it. But for instance, in the, my goodness, I think it was the 40 Licks tour, we made the UK portion of that tour carbon neutral by partnering with a group called Future Forests. And it was all about carbon credits, basically. We bought carbon credits. There was an audit done by the University of Edinburgh to determine, okay, how many fans are coming to the venues? Do you have a private plane? How are they coming in? Are they using public transportation? You do an audit to find out what the carbon footprint is, and then they bought offsets, basically planting trees in Scotland and Africa and other parts of the world. So, you know, I thought that was pretty cool.
They buy any offsets for your forest?
They should do, yeah. Got to talk to Mick about that.
Yeah. Okay, let's open it up for some questions here from the audience. It's hard to see out here.
Jim?
Keep it close.
We have one right here. We have a mic over here. Please stand up and identify yourself.
Jib Ellison from Blue Sky. I'm just interested, as the website has evolved, what's trending? What's the next thing that's most popular?
Well, first of all, we're big admirers of what you've done, Jib. We've talked about that, and so I just wanted to tell you how much respect we have for your company and you. But the problem with trending today is that the impact and influence of Google is still absolutely unbelievable. So it's really not so much what's trending that people come to us, but how well we do in rankings. I mean, you take WebMD. Nobody goes to Google and puts in WebMD. They put in headache or stroke or cataracts. And because WebMD does such a good job in search, they end up getting that traffic. So the trending question is very important, but it has to be combined with the ability to get rankings, because somebody puts in whatever is trending, and that's essential also. But I would say in terms of topics, the intersection of health and wellness with what we would call the more standard definition of environmentalism and sustainability, all those topics are really kind of at the forefront these days.
Great. Another question over here?
Hi, I'm Lucy Ann at the Yale School of Forestry, and the timber industry is really tough. Supply is exceeding demand in a lot of places. What is the consumer-facing role of forestry in the future?
Great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. Well, markets can be cyclical, and I would like to think that we're just kind of in a down market for a while. I think it will resurge. There's a lot going on with tall buildings being built out of laminated wood products. And
Really?
Yeah, there absolutely. There's a contest that just went down, and Secretary Vilsack was involved in announcing these two winners. I think these are about 12 to 13-story buildings that are built primarily out of wood. One of the great advantages and one of the things that gets overlooked is the carbon sequestration. Wood is still sequestering carbon when it's in a house or when it's in a building. And when you look at the alternatives of metals, steel, aluminum, and concrete and so forth, the amount of energy that it takes and the carbon footprint that occurs by the processes of making those products and then using them, there's just no advantage anywhere near what wood can do for us. And, in terms of the market itself, I heard a lot of discussion yesterday about energy, which is an important part of this forum. The pellet industry, biomass, has not really been mentioned. We talk about wind, we talk about solar, but biomass is a part of this equation. You're seeing a lot of pellet factories on the East Coast, and these are wood pellets that are going through a process and being sent primarily to Europe to meet their mandate of the 2020, 20% renewable energy by the year 2020. Why aren't we doing this more in our own country? I think biomass should be in the discussion equally as much as the other renewables, because it is a renewable and it is carbon neutral.
Fantastic. We've run out of time, but we will put biomass on the agenda for next year, too.
Right on.
Let's hear it for Chuck Leavell and Joel Babbit. Thank you, Chuck. Fantastic.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.